Yeah, let me jump on Chill Swotor as well.
We're now live. Morning, everyone. This is episode 195. Our guests today are Charlie and first-time guest Snave. Yep. So, what are we talking about today? All kinds of stuff. Chill will start off the show properly in a minute. This is just pre-show saying hello. And Chill is actually going to be streaming via his Twitch channel and will be hosted by OotiniCast, however that works. Some Twitch magic, apparently.
Right. Yeah, I've got the OotiniCast, and I'm... Oh. Hang on, I'm getting feedback.
Alright. You're going to have to mute something, maybe the Twitch.
When are we starting?
In a few minutes, Dave, maybe 5.
What do I need to kill here?
I'll mute everything.
Do you have Twitch going? As in, you're checking what Twitch is showing you? This may take a couple of minutes to actually sort out.
Which channel are you guys going to be streaming through? Is it going to be Chill's one or the OotiniCast one?
Officially his, but then he's hosting it through OotiniCast.
Hang on a sec. Let me stop the stream.
Okay.
So it will be OotiniCast, but the account he's OBSing to is
his own one.
Yeah.
Okay, so for hosting, I'll host the OotiniCast one then, I guess.
Whew.
That would make sense. Yep.
Yeah. All right,
Okay.
1 second then.
See, I wasn't able to hear anything there for a little while because it's just it keeps looping back on itself, audio-wise.
Okay.
So
Well,
what do I need to do?
Alternatively, maybe we could get Snave to stream.
Actually, maybe if I close the here, let me close that window because I had one of the.
All right.
I had it open as a stream actually, so that probably was the problem. So let me try restarting it and see if I start getting the feedback again.
All right. That would drive
And
you mad.
apologies to anyone who heard that previous stream or the previous streaming on OotiniCast on Twitch.tv because that was getting pretty ugly there towards the end. All right. And nothing yet. So I think that fixed it. I think I just need to have to turn off.
Let me just have a look.
Which is probably good. I don't use the extra bandwidth anyway.
All right. Is this through? Have you gone through OotiniCast as well yet?
Yeah, I'm streaming as OotiniCast and I'm hosting OotiniCast on Chill Swotor.
Okay, gotcha. He's got our stream key, Snave. So
yeah, if you wanna check it out real quick, it should work fine.
yeah, just having a quick look, making sure.
I've got Audacity is rolling, and let's see, show notes. Except actually, if I'm gonna watch the chat, I have to make it like chat only if I can.
Yeah. Can you? There's a little arrow there. Not that arrow.
Let's see. I can on the phone app. I'm not 100% sure.
Maybe you have to use the phone app.
There's probably a way to do it here too.
Liam Neeson is in another action flick. Who would have thought? Run All Night. Looks terrible. Anyway. Oh yeah, it's working.
Okay, good. Okay, I've got the stream itself on pause. Can you try? I'm on Chill Swotor though.
Yeah.
Did you want me to watch that one, or do you want me to try to watch both?
Watch the OotiniCast chat if you can.
Okay. I'm logged in as Chill Swotor though, so I won't have any
You are the moderator. I made you the moderator yesterday.
Oh, you made me a moderator? Awesome. Okay. Okay. That's what I will watch then, and I've paused the actual stream. I hope that works. Let's see. Hopefully, can you try sending a chat, Tio? Just make sure that the chat still works for me, even if I have the stream
Not
paused.
in the chat, but I will be shortly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't set it up so it is chat only and it would use too much bandwidth. I'll probably use the phone app myself next week.
Right. Well, if I pause it on my end, that should be fine for bandwidth for me.
Okay. What are we looking at? I'm seeing a corner
sorry,
of your
I
screen.
still have the. There we go. I can move this.
All right, I just said something in the stream.
You should in a few seconds at least see the hangout.
Okay. Yep. In the chat, did you see it?
I see you.
Beautiful.
All right.
All right.
And I do show as a moderator. Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, I'll have to get used to that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Well, you could ban me. Let's see, Charlie. All right, getting rid of that. We're pretty much ready to roll. We'll just wait. Snave is there.
Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm sorry. I was just turning my cam off so I could use her on here. I'm no longer streaming, so feel free to be as racist as you normally are.
Oh. Oh. Yeah, no. We're nothing like that here.
I'm only teasing.
I'm just
okay,
thinking,
so Audacity
no.
isn't it you want me to use?
Bloody Rhodians.
Now, have you got your Audacity set up and running, Snave?
Yes. Mono output you wanted as well, isn't it?
Yes, please.
No,
Thank
mono
you, sir.
input, beg your pardon.
I sent you an invite for the Dropbox. We can set that up later.
Testing.
But
Oh, I
that's-
managed
yeah.
to actually
Charlie.
empty my Dropbox now, so that's sorted.
Oh, good.
All it was a whole bunch of photos from my phone that was automatically being uploaded, so they're all gone.
Oh, yeah, don't do that. Fuck.
I'm terribly sorry as well, Cran. You were saying something to me then, but I muted you halfway through the sentence because I was trying to prevent anything from coming across. I didn't know what you were going to say, so...
Oh, no,
what were you saying?
I was just mentioning about Dropbox because my Dropbox was full and I just managed to empty it all.
Oh, right, okay, sorry.
Thank you, MIB I9V53N. That's good advice. You can just get the chat. Single chat pop out. Genius. Thank you. If I clear the window though, does it disappear? It does not. Excellent. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Yes. Caps Slapshot 27. We are about to begin. Any prelim stuff you want to talk about before we roll? What have I forgotten to look at? Chill. You may just want to quickly proof your tip because I didn't. Mine looks alright. Oh. That's really important. Tweeting that we're live. Oh, Scott Thomas is in our chat. Oh, Sam's in both. That's impressive. Or looks like she moved. Oh no. Anyway, sorry. Chill, I guess you can't tell whether the stream it would be quicker on Twitch, wouldn't it?
I've asked
Isn't
the Twitch folks. It apparently looks okay.
All right. Is the latency shorter? Because it's like 45 seconds on Hangout.
Oh, that? I don't know. I can ask.
Twitch delay will be around about... You've got 96 people, so you'll have about 15 to 30 seconds, depending on your viewers. As long as it maintains close to 100, it'll maintain between 15 to 30 seconds.
All right. As far as just to respond to ATOEWAS, yeah, gigabyte Ethernet. So I'm moving, getting a new place within a couple of months, and it just happens to be somewhere with fiber. So I'll be getting 100 megabit down, 40 up, which that's a lot for us. So I'm impressed. I'm sure that may be fuck all you guys, but whatever. Yeah, it's good. All right. Enough mucking about. Yeah, let's
All
go.
right, everyone got their Audacity rolling?
It is
Charlie.
now.
All right, you chill.
Yep.
I will have. Let's go.
Hey, Snave, you Hacksbro1234 says he loves you.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, man.
Alright. Wow. Okay. If I'm a little off my game, man, I'm feeling a little nuts with all the extra windows I've got to take care of. So hopefully
What
I
you
will
need
be
is
okay.
another monitor or two.
Well, if I had room though, My wife got this really bizarre like corner desk, and there's just not a lot of left to right room. You have to pretty much put everything right in front of you. So, yeah.
Okay.
And there's even like a shelf up above, so I couldn't even really put a monitor up above very easily. So it's all awkward. All right. And I think I heard both guests say you guys both said that you have your
they're fine.
Audacity.
Yeah,
Okay.
rolling. Let's make this happen.
Yeah, Audacity is running for me as well, yeah.
Okay. And Snape, since this is your first time on, I'll ask you a few quick questions
been
about
briefed.
you and
Be
who
gentle
you are
with
and
me,
all that good
Chill.
stuff.
Be gentle.
Yeah. And then we'll just roll into our weeks and go from there.
Sounds great.
All right. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast. In a way, you have determined the choice of the planet that will be destroyed first. This is episode 195, being recorded on Wednesday, March 11th, 2015. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Tio. Well, actually, producer, Tio. Hi, Tio.
Hey, guys.
And our guests today are Charlie, aka Kranatoko, and first-time guest Snave. Now, Snave, you are well known as a Twitch streamer, although I understand you're going to be switching that up pretty soon. And you're well known for PvP, so tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into SWTOR.
I've been playing SWTOR since launch. It was funny because I was thinking you'll probably ask me this question the other day, and I can still remember sitting in work when I got a delivery message that my collector's edition box had been dropped off at the post office. And I remember getting a lift to the post office from my boss at the time, picking up it, coming back into work and unpacking and everything and getting my Malaga statue out and being really excited and then coming home and playing it. And then slowly over time becoming more and more cynical and bitter and desperate. And that's where we are at this point in time now.
All right. Now, you stream on Twitch right now, but you're thinking of switching to a different server?
Yeah, what's happened is a few months back, probably about 6 or 7 months back, I started streaming on Twitch a lot more often, and I originally started streaming on Twitch just to record highlights because I didn't have a PC that was good enough to run Fraps, so I thought if I just stream it, I can download the footage and just use that. Which is what I used.
I've done that little trick myself. Yes.
That's what I used my first video. But then people started asking me questions, so I was responding to them. So then I started getting a mic and chatting. Then some people complained that the chat wasn't overlaid onto the stream, so I did more overlays. And over time, it kind of built up and built up and built up, and then we got to where we are now. But then a few months back, there was a problem with Twitch where they were muting videos on demand if you played copyrighted music, which is perfectly fine. The issue being it was just awkward for me because I was obviously wanting to download these videos afterwards. So I started looking around at Hitbox. Now, the main reason that I liked Hitbox is the delay between Twitch is substantially less. When you get towards 100 viewers, the chat delay on Twitch is about 15 to 30 seconds, whereas on Hitbox, regardless of numbers, it's about 3 to 4 seconds. So when you chat with your chat so much like I do, it's a lot easier to have a conversation with them. The web player itself is more up to date as well, so you can stream in HD. And people can watch that and just downscale it for you. There's built-in tools like giveaways and polls and things. The dashboard has got more information. And the other thing as well with it, which was a big thing for me at the time anyway, was you can just set up a stream team if you want to. You can just make a team, And to do that on Twitch, you need to be made partnership, which is a difficult thing to achieve, especially if you only stream SWTOR. So I started streaming on Hitbox. I really liked it. The people who watch my stream prefer it. So now whenever I'm on Twitch, they always ask me when you're going across to Hitbox. So I applied for partnership. That should be going live this Friday, assuming things get done in time on PAX. So I will be full-time on Hitbox. Hitbox.tv/Snave. You want it.
So you don't have to have Snave 1208, is it, or whatever it is?
No, not just Snave. Just Snave. There was no other Snaves on Hitbox. I got there really chill. I was straight in there like a rat up a drain pipe. I want to have my name.
Yes, exactly. I think everyone does. Everyone hates to do the extra numbers or extra words or whatever. That's awesome. Now, were you interested in PvP and other games before SWTOR? Has that always been your thing, or?
No, I tend to go from one extreme to the other. So I mean, the other game I played, or the other MMO I played before this was World of Warcraft. I played that for probably about 7 years. I started off playing PvP. I kind of leveled through PvP. was in the PvP guild, all that kind of stuff. Then I went and I joined the PvE guild, and then I did only PvE, and I was doing Molten Core. That's right, I can compete with Eric Musco in terms of PvE achievements. I once did Molten Core 2, Blackwing Layer, and then back when, what raid was it? Ulduar came out. We were trying to push for top 100 guilds in the world for PvE. So I was literally raiding from 5 p.m. until about 3 a.m. in the morning. We do 25 man and finish, and then do 10 man hard mode. So yeah, I've done a good mixture of things. It's just in Star Wars, I don't really like the PvE so much, but I really like the PvP. So and there's a lot of
awesome.
bads. There's a lot of bads in ranks, so I get to beat them up and feel good about myself and feel like a real man.
Awesome. Now, as you say, you love the PvP, and you've got a little bit of a reputation as someone who speaks your mind. So, can you tell me a bit about that and why you think some people, it comes off as negative for some people and all that good stuff?
I think it depends really on what I'm talking about and the people's opinion of it. Because what tends to happen is if people agree with me, then they love me. If they disagree with me, then they tend to hate me. So it's an awkward one for me. I mean, I don't necessarily think I go out of my way to tell it like it is. It's just, I see things in a certain way, and I have a way of expressing myself. I was always kind of raised to speak any points you have to make with enthusiasm and gusto to try and kind of make your point. So I think sometimes it comes across that I care a lot more than I actually do. But I mean, the too long didn't read is I like having these conversations with different people about things. If they want to take it negatively, they're more than welcome to. It's not an issue for me because ultimately I'm a guy sitting in my bedroom playing a video game. If that upsets you, you're in America somewhere going, "Ooh, I'm so angry that Slave guy said this." I mean, get a grip, like. I'm just like literally a guy on the other side of the planet playing a video game. So if my opinion deeply upsets you, I think you need some perspective in your life.
Do you think people mostly they sort of misunderstand what you're really saying?
No, I think it's two things. I mean, first of all, I tend to push points to the extreme a lot of the time. And when I use analogies, I tend to use very severe, kind of like overly dramatic analogies to emphasize the point that I'm trying to make. I tend to assume that the people I'm speaking to are, stupid. So I try and do it as over the top and cartoony manner as possible. Some people mistake that for genuine feelings, and they get really upset about it. So I mean, I don't really mind at all, really. I generally don't. I find it quite entertaining. I don't really get trolled much, which I thought was quite strange. I always thought I have a lot more people coming into my chat and saying things, but it very, very rarely, if ever, happens. I think that by this point in time, people have worked out that I'm not, super serious, and that when they say, "Hey, I'm kind of a big deal," they kind of realize that I'm like tongue-in-cheek saying that, and I don't genuinely mean that. So I think we're at that point now where I've been around for long enough, people understand that I'm somewhat of a caricature as opposed to an actual person on some points. On others, maybe not.
Right. Yeah, that certainly seems it to me. I mean, I don't think there's a difference for a lot of people between like what their public persona is versus what they actually are.
It's not a huge difference, Sean. It's just a little difference.
But we need that diversity. We need it because obviously, I'm one of those who's just all over the place. Really, I'm happy one time, then next minute I'm just being a bit dull, and then we need people like you with a complete different personality to me, so that there's more variety in the community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the main issue that I had with these things, and this all kind of started almost inadvertently, really, is I've always been of the mindset that if you don't like something and you can actively improve on it or change it yourself, you have a duty to do that, or shut up. One of those two things. Don't complain about something if you can actively improve it. And I watched a lot of the streamers, and they were either terrible or they were really, really boring to watch. Really, really boring to watch. And they always complain, "Oh, no one watches Star Wars because it's boring." It's like, no one watches you because you were boring, and that's the issue with it. So I mean, I tried doing different things, and I tried presenting myself in different ways, but ultimately just kind of like acting more towards myself and doing things that I was interested in worked out best for me. I started doing a chat show back on Toffin where we had a PvP segment every week, where we would get the guilds from the server and have a chat as what happened in ranked this week. And it was really good and really entertaining. It wasn't very professional by you guys' standards. There was a lot of swearing and whatnot, but it was good fun. good fun to do, and it got the community involved with the PvP scene, and it helped build up the PvP scene, and that's really what I like doing, is getting everyone involved and helping the community to come together to do different things. So, if some people get upset by how I do that, then that's absolutely fine, but I've not lost sleep over it as of yet.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think we may end up sort of having sort of different public ways of expressing ourselves, but ultimately we both love the game and we both want to see it succeed and grow and continue. So
I agree. I couldn't agree more.
Right. Okay, that's excellent. Because I got to tell you, maybe this is telling tales out of school, but we rarely have guests come on our show, and even before they come on, people are like writing us emails to warn us about you. That is a rarity.
Oh. I wasn't going to bring that up.
But I was.
Yeah, I'm on my best behavior tonight. I understand that this show is different to ToroCast. It's also different to my stream, so don't worry, guys. I'm in job interview mode at the moment.
Well,
I made a list of swear word comparisons as well, so if I get stuck, I can glance over and find the appropriate word to say.
Just use a nice slang one. The Americans will never understand. I promise. I can barely understand, and I actually like British and Australian slang. So, all right, let's go ahead and swing into our weeks. So, Snave, what you been up to recently in game?
I've had a fairly busy week this week. It's because it's my final week on Twitch. I've been streaming a lot more than I normally would, so I've been trying to do it every single day, just to try and kind of get people aware that I am moving across, and I've tried doing some different things as well. So this week I've done the Snave World Tour. I leveled up American Snave, so Snave, as I would call him, because he's on the American servers, and then I did a little mini tour of the ones in the EU and the ones in the US, just to see what they were like. It was terrible. It was so bad. I've also been trying to finish off my next video series, which is like how to become a reg star. The next part, which should be done by next week sometime, is going to focus just on water basics. Do you know the term reg star? So a reg star is a person who is maybe an average to above average player who will queue for regular war zones in a 4-man group with min-maxed best in slot gear, and they'll destroy pugs, and then they'll make highlight videos of themselves, making themselves look brilliant. Yeah, so I'm a complete reg star. And it's a light-hearted kind of learn to play series, which will just, if you don't understand the basics of Warzone mechanics, so it's just things like calling inks, how to defend, how to attack, just the counters and the distributions of numbers, it'll teach you how to do that. The other one is we're trying to start a 8-man ranked night, so hopefully this is going to work, because I think I can get this to work. The PTS is up, so we're going to try this on a Saturday. We're going to try and get some people together this Saturday. So if you want to get involved, just download the PTS and install it. We'll all be streaming it. There'll be about 10 people streaming it by the sounds of it. And we're going to just all get into 4-man groups, all on TeamSpeak at the same time, queue together, and we'll get 8-man ranked then, kind of. 8-man kickball ranked.
And where do you put these videos up when you make them?
So my videos are going to be put onto Tor Community. They are also hosted on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/snave1208.
Did you finally come up with a name for the group?
For my stream team? No, man. Every time I think of a name, someone tells me that it's something else, or it's stupid, or so I'm just gonna wait until something pops into my mind and do it then. So I've got some time. I mean, I've been speaking to some people about coming over to Hitbox to stream things. So until that actually happens, I don't necessarily need one. But there's a few things we can do. We can always change it to maybe we should call it Team Cheekbones. In honor of you.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Charlie, what you been up to?
Well, usually people know me as a very, 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 very slow player. So whereas everyone's got like 8 level 60s, I finally got my second one. I managed to get my light side sorcerer up to level 60, but I haven't finished him through Shadow of Revan yet, because I was meant to do that on Saturday, but I had to go to work, so I didn't have time to do it, and I've just not really got back to him since. been streaming on Twitch. I didn't mention a long time ago that I actually do stream on Twitch now, and I really do enjoy it, and it's just so much fun. But thinking about what
Awesome.
Snape's been saying, maybe I should think about Hitbox as well. Maybe. I hit a huge milestone this time. I managed to get up to 73 viewers, and the sad thing is that when I reached that point, I decided to quit the stream because I had to finish. So just when I was getting good, I had to say bye.
Yeah.
But when I was doing the stream, I finished Tatooine on my Scoundrel. The thing which kind of annoyed me about the Scoundrel on Tatooine is that as soon as you go to Tatooine, I'm not going to spoil it, but you go to Tatooine for some codes. And it's pretty much, oh, here's a couple of characters which you'll barely even get to know. Oh, you've got what you need to go. Let's pop off back to our ship and off to Alderaan. There's not really much. I'm really hoping that one of the characters you met on Tatooine, because I'm still progressing through the story through my stream, that they'll return, because I get the feeling they might, but can only hope. Can only
Right.
hope. Also in the same stream, I started a new Sith Inquisitor for Sith Assassin. I started to do the dark side. I don't know how different the light side and the dark side stories are, but I've heard usually most Empire stories are best in the dark side, so I'm really hoping that's true for the Sith Inquisitor. And that's all I've really been doing in SWTOR this week. I'm just waiting for Bounty Contract Week to come back next week so that I can finally get that max reputation, because that'll be my 4th one, I believe. Because I managed to get the Gree one a couple of weeks ago when that was around. Finally, it took me. How long has the Gree been around now? Good year or so now, and I've only just got it to max.
Okay.
And in non-SWTOR, before I came on OotiniCast, I streamed Cities Skylines, which is what they call a better version of SimCity. And I don't know why, but it's peculiar, because at the moment all it really is build some housing, build some shops, build some housing, build some shops, and it's rinse and repeat. But somehow that's addicting. It makes no sense at all. But still, I'm enjoying it.
I hope your recovery is swift. Yes.
Right.
Oh, well, it's way better than SimCity, I can tell you that. So if you ever played SimCity and were disappointed, City Skyline.
Did you hear that Maxis, who made SimCity, has been closed down by EA?
Yeah, that's sad.
Ooh. In fairness, I think I would rather blame EA for that, because I can guarantee behind the scenes EA was trying to push all this out, and I don't think Maxis had any choice in what they wanted to do sometimes.
There were some very odd things associated with the latest SimCity, yeah.
Okay.
It's just the way they were sort of saying, oh, we can't do offline. Well, here's offline now. It's the little things they said they couldn't do, and then in the end they said they could.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Charlie, your YouTube channel is Chronotoko. Is it also twitch.tv/Chronotoko?
Yes, it is. It's the same.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've been putting some of my Twitch video. Well, I've been taking some Twitch highlights and putting them on my YouTube channel. So I'm trying to bring people to my Twitch channel if possible. But I'll see how it goes, really.
Okay. Tio, how about your week?
Talk about raiding briefly with our regular group. First day we cleared story mode the Ravagers and 3/5 of Temple of Sacrifice. Then on day 2 we quickly cleared the rest. We got hard mode Malafar, that's the first boss in Temple of Sacrifice, on roughly the 3rd attempt. And it did take us a couple of goes, but then we got hard mode Sparky over in Ravagers, and then spent the other half of our session, 1.5 hours or so, working on hard mode Bulo. So yeah, we are progressing. We were making progress on Bulo. The mechanics are actually very similar to story mode, if you're kind of doing it properly and not just powering through it. So it's just a matter of being a little more exact about things and managing the damage.
Yeah, it's nasty damage. Anything you mess up on the mechanics is just brutal.
Indeed. So aside from that, I did actually help out the random riders on 1 or 2 of their nights. And also leveled my Marauder to level 60. He's the one I've been working on for a while. So that's number 9. Next on the list is my Gunslinger, I believe.
Get them done now, Tio, because soon you won't have any time to do these things.
Indeed.
That's true.
So yeah, this is the real life thing I've mentioned previously. So Harry and I are expecting a child.
Yay!
Yay!
Congratulations.
Well done,
Thank
Tio.
you.
Well done, buddy.
Just this week, my former employer is luring me back. I sort of kind of semi-retired, but it looks like I'm getting over that because he wants me back, and he has money apparently. And
Are you going to take him up on it?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He hooked me pretty good.
But in Australia, not the U.S.?
Very much in Australia. Yes, a large defence contractor. But anyway, and yesterday I put a house under contract. So
Wow.
yeah, it's been a big week. But
That is a big week.
Yes.
So
Your future starts here.
And when's the rough expectant day?
Early September.
Early September. Awesome. If it's a little early, could be on my birthday then.
Oh, there you go.
August 30th.
Do you have any-
September. So when was the Vegas Cantina?
Let's just say it was after that. Yes, we did work it out. But anyway,
What would you
100% Australian,
what would
as
you
it is.
say? What would you say you're hoping for?
A baby, I imagine, mate. Not a velociraptor.
Yes. I mean, boy or girl.
I'm hoping for a boy. We'll find out. Getting a gender scan on my birthday. So
What you want to be hoping for is that the baby gets you a cheekbones and everything else from Harry.
I'll go with that. Sure. Aside from that, it hasn't left me a lot of time to play, but well, maybe that will change, but who knows? But yeah. Anyway, that's my week. Over to you, Joel.
All right. First, a shout out to the chat room. 80 Galia Harbinger is here. Berryman, Cap Slapshot 27. Chill Say My Name is here. Darth Brundlefly is here. Ghana. Gahan, I believe they like it. He or she likes it pronounced. JBag KY is here. Sexy Pudding is here. Zamzam is here. In fact, I saw one of Zamzam's videos she put up recently on regarding PvP as a mercenary, and that was pretty cool. Belazar's here. Let's see. Everything's changing. Hellion is here, Giant Gina is here, Dekion is here, Mark_Swooter, random name is here, Nepthin, Palace, Pez, and Rubber are all here. And let's see, in the Twitch chat room, Zamzam's also there. Adahuayas is here. Let's see, Scott Thomas, Hacksbro1234 is here, Retaz. Let's see, Tenebraster. I'm trying to get everyone. War Historian. Let's see. Okay, I think that's everyone. Almost everyone. Just Devin. And if I missed anyone, I'm sorry. I'm still learning how to handle the different chat rooms and everything.
You forgot Chill Say My Name.
No, I said Chill Say My Name.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right, so the main thing I did this week is worked on leveling my commando. The reason being we are rather melee heavy in our operations group, and it's proving difficult on some of the fights. So we want to be able to have more ranged for some of these fights. So unfortunately, that's the one character I did not have up to 55 by the time the expansion dropped, so I'm actually having to level her from the, I think it was like the mid to high 30s. Got her up to 42 over the weekend. She's on Belsavis. And it's going okay. I had some family outings and stuff, so, given the time, I did okay. I was planning to do the right side dot tree because I liked that before. But actually, I've tried out the middle tree, and I'm rather enjoying it. I did not enjoy it when I tried it on max level mercenary on the other side, but for some reason it's working for me on the commando side. And I think partly it has to do with the fact that since then, we had the first Utini War Room about that class, and Chong sort of gave me the sort of scoop on that middle tree, and so I knew how to keep it mobile and what procs to look for and stuff like that. So I kind of understood a little better, and also understood that if I was planting myself, it wasn't necessarily going to be that way all the way up to level 60. So that was pretty good. Also, I believe Pez is doing the right side tree, the dot tree, when he's on his commando, so it might be nice to balance that out a bit too. So yeah, so that was actually, it was kind of fun leveling lower levels. It's a little slower than I remember because, of course, all the leveling I've done recently has been at like 12 times experience, or it's been the 55 to 60 run, which is quite quick. And it feels like a bit of a slog going through the Hoth, but it's still pretty fun. So, all right, good enough on that. Let's go on to the tip of the week. Let's see, we have how many? Just the one? Two. We got 2 tips this week. The first one is from Sunner of the Prophecy of the Five server. Sunner writes, newer listener, so I'm not sure if this is common knowledge, but at the Nar Shaddaa stronghold, you can walk around on the starship pad if you mount up and then jump off the taxi at the front. Also, my stronghold often has friends in it, which makes it much nicer to log into. I managed to lure them in by having lots of conveniently placed utility items and advertising freedom from gold spammers and then giving them a key. It certainly makes it more rewarding than being there alone. I like that.
Cute. Alright, our second tip is from Zunibog of the Order of Shadow Knights Guild on the Ebon Hawk server. When attempting to increase companion affection through their companion conversations, you can check the conversation through Torhead for companion affection gains without having to escape out of the conversation over and over again. The easiest way to do this is to do a Google search as welcome your companion's name, Torhead, and it will bring up the page. If you go to the comments section, there will be the entire conversation chain that you can use to go from one conversation to the next. And Zernabog also points us to his blog, zernablog.wordpress.com.
Okay, cool. All right, by random allotment, the winner is Zernabog. So congratulations, you're the winner of an M8R3 droid pet code, courtesy of BioWare, or a Tonfon code if you prefer, and an OotiniCast provided cartel market pack from the latest shipment. If you'd like a chance to win the same, please send your tips to OotiniCast@gmail.com by next Tuesday. And that will bring us to the holofeed. Tio?
Let's start with Bounty Contract Week. As Charlie mentioned, it is next week, beginning March 17th, Tuesday, March 17th, just running for the obvious week. Some people are saying it should have been this Tuesday, March the 10th, but, well, actually Musco did explain it. It's his understanding that although the event typically will fall on the second Tuesday of each month, it's not always true. Best way is to check in the patch notes. But this can be a little odd because it all depends when the actual patch is, meaning it could either be 2 to 3 weeks in advance or the day before, which is pretty much the case this time, only a few days before it. And Musco is going to talk to the dev team to see if they can get a more concrete schedule.
Okay.
Now, speaking of... Now, next, game update 3.1.1. We kind of expected that it would have been on Tuesday the 10th, as they had been telling us, but they actually delayed it until, and we've just found out, it will be Thursday morning US time, so that is after a few hours from later today when we're recording this, so we haven't actually seen the actual patch yet. The reason for the delay was that there is a bug that would cause characters with certain facial features during conversations to have their faces become blacked out or to appear bright pink. So yeah, that would be bad. Well, depending on your point of view. And yeah, so they're going to try and get that fixed. It looks like they have, because they have scheduled the maintenance for tonight. And yeah, so we will see it. We went through the patch notes in detail last week. The only things they've actually added to the published patch notes is there are 6 emotes which now will have animations attached. I'll list them in our show notes, but very quickly it's /duck/look/meditate/observe, that you just gaze off into the distance,
Right.
/raise, you raise your hand, and
Is that
/tap,
like a?
you
Is that
tap
like
your
holding
foot
your hand up,
impatiently.
like you're going to wave, but you're not actually waving? Is that what raise does? I guess we'll find out, but
Or like you're answering a question in school, perhaps?
maybe.
Whatever.
Means
Uh,
more emotes for my pack opening intros as well,
That's
which is
right.
good.
Yeah, I can
it, get,
imagine.
it,
I can
it gets
imagine
to a
most of those
point.
being useful, actually.
Yeah, it gets to a point where I'm just using the same emotes over and over again. I'm just like, give me more. I need more. So it's always a relief when I find that I get some more emotes in a pack. Although there's a lot of emotes I've never even used,
Right.
which I really should start using.
No use for the Gangnam dance or anything?
No, but thinking about it now. Also, I'm really glad that the pack isn't in this patch as well. It's obviously going to be in 3.1.2 because there's one more of the shadow packs, and I'm glad because I haven't even started the intro yet, and I was so worried it was going to be out this week. So I don't make the pack video until I've done the intro. It's just a thing now.
Saved. All right. Also in the patch, in-game update 3.1.1 for Blood Hunt, the first flashpoint in Shadow of Revan, we have some exploit fixes, which they have now added. Republic players can no longer repeatedly access a solo mode for Blood Hunt. How about that? Didn't know that was a thing. Don't know if I really want to do them over and over again, to be honest, but whatever. Players and companions and the GSI, or the Jesus Droid, are no longer able to leap to one of the mobs, to one of the bosses that you fight, and a different boss will now reset if moved outside of the combat area in solo mode. So it was just a way to cheese the encounter, it would seem.
I see.
So, whatever, a few little patches, but a few little additions, but otherwise pretty much as it was last week. So
let me ask you a quick question on this, Tio, because I'm interested to get your point of view on this. The delay in the patch is only, 2 days to fix this bug. Do you think this has any kind of impact, or do you think this is a bit of a non-starter in terms of a delay?
pretty much a non-starter. It looks like everything was good to go, and then they found this in their quality assurance testing, and so they just had to fix it. They probably just had a very small part of the team just focused on getting it done. It shouldn't affect anything else, I would say.
I kind of agree with you. It's just there's been a lot of reports or a lot of posts on the forums about classic BioWare missing yet another patch deadline and all this kind of stuff. I'm just wondering whether at this stage are we so cynical that it's, even if it is essentially a non-story, we always just, oh, that's just classic BioWare missing another one.
Well, firstly, this is why they don't tell us dates in advance, because this kind of thing can happen. This is just the reality of software development.
Yeah.
As far as the cynicism goes, it's the forums. Don't people always say that kind of stuff?
Oh, Tio's clearly not a forum warrior.
Clearly not. No, I avoid it like the plague. So, yeah. I don't honestly think anything's different.
No, I agree with you.
Alright, next. Game update 3.1.2. That is on the PTS right now. John Jarodnowski is the guy from the combat team. Relatively recent addition to the group. We mentioned him before. He seems to be leading the effort of doing all the class changes. At least he is a public face on the forums. And he's just talking about the kind of things they're doing and is encouraging players to actually respond to the threads on the forums regarding the actual class changes that they have been making. He did point out that they can't respond to every single post because there's too many of them to do that. They are reading them, and he said that if you want to participate, there are two things you can do to make it better in terms of your contribution. Back up your opinions and concepts with evidence from play experience. How about that? Don't just... anecdotes are kind of worthless, but if you can back it up with whatever videos, even, it would be ideal, of course. And also avoid quarrels with other members of the community on who is right or wrong. So, yeah, conflicts just detract from the overall discussion. So just say your piece, and move on. But
I
if
kind
you
of
want
like
to be
this
one of
post that he
those,
did. I think it's somewhat idealistic, though, and I think it's also somewhat a statement as opposed to an actual genuine post. So they say they read over all the feedback posted in these threads, and they've said this for a very, very long time. However, the action that's been taken historically has never reflected that in any way, shape, or form, especially these changes. Because if you go to the Juggernaut forums if you want to, no one has asked for increased defenses at any point in time, and they're now actually buffing their defenses, which I mean I don't have a huge issue with, because perhaps their internal testings have shown that they need it for PV or whatnot. However, when they constantly feed us the line that their devs are incredibly busy and they are hard pressed to meet all these demands, I can't help but feel that the time spent on this Juggernaut change should be at the bottom of the queue for a class which is already somewhat pretty much balanced as to where it needs to be. I think Guardians and Operatives are in pretty good places right now, so I don't understand why they put in through a defensive buff that no one asked for or suggested or mentioned at any point in time, while other specs like Shadow, for example, have a horrendous balance issue that aren't being addressed in these changes.
interesting point. They've made it clear that their decisions do tend to be data-driven. So, in addition to accepting feedback from the community, I'm pretty sure they have said explicitly they will not make changes based entirely on player feedback. That will obviously inform.
I accept that. I accept that they will rely on the data. However, if you want some data as to assassins needing to be tweaked, you just need to look at the top, 500 players in solo ranked.
Well, the numbers do speak for themselves. Yeah.
So again, there's almost this kind of like inconsistency. They're consistent in their inconsistency, and the only time that it really kind of ruffles my feathers somewhat is when they feed us the line that we have limited resources to make these changes. We're doing the best we can with the resources we have available, but yet they still put other changes in which aren't needed, and they prioritize those above the changes that are needed. That's my issue with it.
Fair enough. Though, I guess they would prioritize all of this as best they can in terms of the effort required to make the changes. Maybe some things that are being asked for are just too hard, and
Possibly.
That particular changes would be kind of trivial because they're just tweaking numbers, really. But a lot of them are just numbers. So,
they're all just tweaking numbers, Theo. They're all just tweaking numbers.
I know. I'm not going to defend their development practice, so I honestly can't speak to it. But yeah. Don't let it stop you contributing, though, in terms of forum stuff. I mean, they have responded to at least some of it. There is historical evidence that they do listen in some areas, at least. But sometimes they just don't agree philosophically with what people are asking for.
Yeah,
so they just don't do it.
Understand they have to make the ultimate decision, and sometimes that can be awkward. I would just like some consistency in the pattern of the decision-making is all. I also agree very strongly with his next 2 points as well, that backing up opinions and concepts with evidence is a great thing to do. There's plenty of parsing websites. You can record things via Twitch or via Fraps, or if you have NVIDIA graphics card, there's Shadowplay you can record with as well. Something that I did with the out of combat timer. So you're meant to drop combat after 8 seconds. That doesn't work. In my video, I think it's in excess of 2 minutes, and I'm still in combat despite not being in combat. So I sent that across to them to take a look at, and they thanked me for actually providing evidence of it happening, so they can look into it more specifically rather than anything else. So
yeah. Indeed. Now, as far as the actual changes, Snave's already mentioned this in the latest BTS patch about the Guardians getting their focused defense or enraged defense buffed. For all we know, that's coming from PvE, actually. I mean, as a Guardian, that would be really nice, but no doubt it is coming from PvP as well, somehow.
That's a big change for PvP, because the 15 seconds from 10 obviously is a 50% increase in duration, and the 2 charges is a big change as well. So from my point of view, a class which is already defensively incredibly strong doesn't really need to have increased defenses. I don't think this is the correct way to balance that class, but what do I know?
As much as any of us, really. All right, and there's a bunch of other stuff which we won't go through in detail, though the Chain Shock utility for Inquisitors got a real nerf in terms of what it does. But anyway, we'll go through all of this once it's all finalized, because a lot of this stuff, they'll throw it in, they may pull it out, depending on the testing on the BTS. So if you care at all, by all means, fire up the PTS and try this stuff out, beat up the dummy, whatever, and let them know. Right, Community Cantina, Star Wars Celebration. They have announced it, and pending any kind of weather-related problem, I guess it won't be a snowstorm. Could be a sandstorm. Isn't
Oh, that's
California
sass, Theo.
a
That's sass.
well, you know, I guess California should be fairly safe. Maybe could be an earthquake.
Right. It'll have to be an earthquake.
Predicted.
It's California.
Don't jinx it.
Oh yeah, sorry. It'll be on Saturday, April the 18th. This is obviously in conjunction with Star Wars Celebration, and which runs from Thursday 16th to Sunday 19th of April. So yeah, and they mention in their description there'll be complimentary drinks and food as always, giveaways. That's pretty usual, but they'll also have an Anaheim exclusive Prinor Congregate Vehicle Code, or Prinaway Congregate Vehicle Code. So this is their new trend, apparently, of having event-unique mounts or pets, presumably, to give away. And in theory, you'll never see that again. So
Goodness. Those are going to be rare then.
I wonder if there's any chance that that particular vehicle matches a certain speeder seen in the Force Awakens trailer. Stranger things have happened.
No, I
Okay.
don't think it does. These ones have been, they've been leaked already, I believe. And they are...
The one that looks like a cut-down Zamboni?
Oh, that's a bit of a shame. Alright, fair enough. Don't mind missing out then. Also, they'll have a special appearance by the 501st. Those are the guys who dress up as stormtroopers.
Right.
And a green screen area for photos, so they'll project who knows what behind, and more.
Wow.
Space is limited, so make sure you turn up early. Cool.
That's cool. Yeah, it makes sense that there's a lot of extra sort of fancy stuff like that, just because there's going to be so many Star Wars people right there anyway. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
I think this is a brilliant way for them to do the cantinas, though, because they're not only having the cantina for the people who play the game, but they're going to get a lot of people who don't play the game stopping by, which can only really increase interest and increase players.
Who are all Star Wars fans, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Now, as we know, they did cancel the event in Boston due to some sort of polar thing or something. There was snow. Definitely snow. And they mentioned that in its place we'll be doing a live stream to announce whatever they were going to announce at Boston, at the cantina. And they are still going to do that, Eric assures us, and they're just going to lock down the date. So hopefully in a week or two. Now, next, let's talk about catching those behaving badly in ranked PvP. So, as Eric promised, he has posted the initial report on just what they're doing. So, they've categorized the bad people into two groups. Firstly, we've got the win traders, and second, the griefers. Now, the win traders are obviously those who group up, who, however they do it, they just take turns losing so that other guys can beef up their rating, or they play an ult, whatever. So, obviously, that is not in the spirit of the game. So, he says they've been reviewing multiple sets of data along with private reports, and any player who, through validating data, is win trading is receiving, at a minimum, a warning. And not only are we warning those users to stop what they are doing, continued win trading will lead to greater actions, including resetting their ratings and suspension time. And he went on to say that the criteria for win trading is data-based, so it's not just reports. So they just a whole lot of people saying some people are doing it. It's not enough. The data must back it up, obviously. And also the win trading warnings have gone out, and any other actions, such as, alright, I'll talk about that in a sec. And the other category were the griefers, and these are the ones who have that one singular purpose to ruin the spirit of ranked PvP. The guy who goes into yellow, solo ranked, and just sits in the corner and dies or whatever, or just /duck.
Right.
Yeah, they'll be receiving anything from a warning to a suspension.
So what's your opinion on this one? I'm interested. I'm genuinely interested in this.
Okay. My opinion is it's good they're taking action. I'm wondering how effective warnings will be, especially for the griefers. The suspension, they're talking to up to a week, I believe, at least so far. I'm assuming that anyone who receives a warning will effectively go on a list and they'll continue to monitor those players specifically so that they can take further action if they continue to behave badly. They did go on to say that the warning's purpose is to raise awareness to those players and to hopefully curb their behaviour, as if they didn't know what they were doing. If someone stops their behaviour after receiving the warning, they may actually still take further action, such as resetting their rating. So this all sounds great. The proof of the pudding will be in the
I disagree.
eating.
I don't think it sounds great. I think it sounds really, really bad.
All right.
I think it's completely ineffective. So here's the situation you got win trading. So let's say, for example, I queue for solo ranked, and I'm the person who's win trading to gain rating.
Sure.
So there's a person on the other team who then loses matches. Now, if that person just loses every single match they go into, regardless of who's on the other side, then there's nothing tying them to me. So they're not going to punish the person who's benefiting from it. They're going to punish the person who's losing. They're losing rating anyway. And what are they then going to say? Well, you keep on going into these games and losing. You need to get better. Are they going to tell them to learn to play? Is that the warning? Get better at your class? What if you don't have an advanced class? Because there's nothing stopping people from going into solo rank with no advanced class. What if you're in PvE gear? There's nothing stopping you from doing that. So if I have a bunch of people on Republic side, for example, who all queue up at roughly the same time as me, they're all in PvE gear with no advanced class, and they lose every single game. They can even go through the motions of trying to play. They'll still lose based on having no advanced class and PvE gear. Who are they going to punish in that situation, and how would they punish them? How is it even fair or ethical for them to punish the guys who are playing the game within the constraints they've applied to solo ranked? Because there's no gear limit to enter, there's no advanced class limit to enter. So why are they punishing them?
Would they actually be win trading though? They would, even if they got caught. If you analyse the situation, it would be fairly clear that they're not doing it deliberately. They're just.
But that's just what I mean. Is it that right there is a way that I could win trade? I could log on Slave, my operative. They could log on to the Republic counterparts, and then they could just lose every single game. That stacks the deck in my favour. And how do they punish them?
Well,
so you lost 100 rating.
They wouldn't, because that isn't. There's nothing wrong. That is absolutely within the spirit of it. I mean.
Okay, so let's take this a little step further here, all right? Because this is my other bugbear with Team Ranked. Let's say Team Ranked takes place. Now, on pretty much every server, Team Ranked needs to be arranged rather than occurs naturally. Now, in this situation, there's generally going to be one team which is better than the other, and they will tend to win more games than the other one. So is that win trading? Mm-hmm. Even if both teams are competing at the best of their ability, is that win trading?
No.
No, but it is, because if I know that I can beat that team 10 times out of 10, and I arrange to play against them, then I am win trading with them, because I know I can beat them.
I believe they're targeting specifically people who are setting it up, so...
But you have to set a team ranked, regardless. It doesn't happen naturally.
Yeah, of course, but they're trying to identify people who are a little more... doing it more egregiously. So not just taking advantage of the small population and thus knowing when the best time to play is. That's just being clever, but that isn't win trading. Win trading is a little more specific. So they're not trying to catch those people.
I think the point I'm making here is within the rules that they've set up, it is very, very easy to work within their rule set and still achieve exploitation of said rule set. So the people who actively want to do this can still do it without any fear of punishment. And also on top of that, the first punishment they have is a warning. Oh, okay, I've been warned. The second punishment is up to potentially a week ban. So the literal worst case scenario is I don't play for a week. There you go. I can live with that.
What about the rating reset, and if they did it across your account?
If they do the rating reset, again, and I guess that's for the ones who are more egregiously doing it and the ones who aren't being clever with it, then fine, there's a rating reset. I mean, I'm actually quite tempted to set up some kind of framework myself just to see how much I can get away with as more of an experiment, to see whether I can work within those confines and do it, because it's very easy for you to. Let me tell you a story. There was a guy on our server called Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was a Sork healer, queued up for solo ranked in all greens, had terrible gear. He kept on leaving games as well. Everyone was reporting him as being a troll, trying to Q dodge him and this kind of stuff. I played a game with him. He was the best healer we had by a 2-to-1 ratio of their healer in greens. We invited him to the guild. He was an Icelandic guy who had a very poor internet connection, which caused a disconnect. He didn't have much time to play, and he didn't understand how gearing worked, but he was a legitimately good player. Now, under their criteria, he would be flagged as a griefer. So it doesn't work on so many different levels. I don't understand how it's going to be a viable deterrent. That's my issue with it.
One could argue that this is more the illusion of action than actual action, perhaps.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Theo. There you go.
But they can only catch so many people. So they really are just trying to catch the extreme end, the people who are really egregious about it. But
I suppose the one issue
within the rules is fine.
I suppose the one issue I
smart
have with
play.
this, the biggest issue I have with this, is he says up to a week's suspension. Because they should say, if it's going to be, a threat and a posture and an illusion of action being taken, he should say up to banning and a minimum of a week suspension. Mm-hmm. Because then that reinforces their position of power as opposed to, coming across kind of limp.
Well,
again,
we're going to have to see how it actually plays out, because it's in the right direction, it would seem, particular rating reset. So people aren't just going to be able to get away with it, in theory. But
all I'll really say is that I think, BioWare sees a lot more than we know, because even though they've been, cracking down on a lot of things, there was obviously the exploit, and they're now properly trying to crack down on things like this. Well, isn't it better to have something set in place rather than absolutely nothing, just letting everyone get away with it?
I 100% agree. What I'm saying is, just because they're doing something doesn't mean that it's right. If you were starving and I give you a rotten piece of bread, it's better than nothing, but it's still not good. Especially when I have a perfectly fresh loaf of bread next to it, and I just have to use that one instead. They have these choices available to them.
So what's
the obvious question is, what should they be doing?
What should they be doing exactly?
They should be coming down hard and fast. Drop the hammer, Theo. Drop it.
As in, just ban their accounts permanently.
Ban people and send a message. They should have done this with the exploit as well. Send a message, because once that message is sent, there will be less people doing it in the future out of fear as opposed to anything else. Because currently, if there's more exploits, I think people will be more tempted to do them because of the lack of action previously. Whereas if they had something more severe, they wouldn't be doing that. People on the fence will go towards it, because why not, I'm going to get banned for 24 hours. I'll just go out and get some fresh air. Ooh.
But like you were saying that there were going to be innocent parties that were going to get punished. Well, what if innocent parties get completely banned?
That's what customer service is for. They can, by all means, go through the customer service.
They shouldn't have to. They shouldn't have to do that.
I shouldn't have to queue up with people who have no advanced class, no PvP gear, who sit in solo ranked and team ranked and ruin my experience for an entire evening. How is this always towards the person who is causing the issue rather than people who are suffering from the issue? This was the same logic that was used against people who use the exploit. Well, it doesn't affect you directly. Yes, it does, because they have a load of stuff that I don't now because I didn't cheat. It does affect me. So they need to do a lot more. They need to be more visible with it, and they need to be beating the drum, letting people know they aren't messing around, because currently, I guarantee you, as a PvPer who speaks to other PvPers, no one takes them seriously in any way, shape, or form.
More extreme action could be effective, though, Charlie, they wouldn't do that unless... they would only do it in the most extreme cases, just like they did with the exploit. Some people did get there permanently banned, but very few, because very few were taking massive advantage of it. And in that particular case of the last exploit, they did say that the actual actions taken were reduced due to BioWare's own culpability in delaying so long and actually admitting it was there and then doing something about it. So next time, assuming that quickly, I would expect something a little more harsh and no one can possibly complain. Sorry, Joel. Go ahead.
Right. Yeah. Right. Obviously, a lot of these problems could be solved if the number of PvP people, if the group of people queuing up for PvP would go up, because then you wouldn't, win trading becomes almost impossible, and then you just have to worry about griefing at that point. And griefing in some ways can be, a lot easier to spot. It's pretty easy to find someone who's doesn't have their advanced class, for instance.
Can I just say it now, because otherwise I might do the whole episode without saying it. We need cross server. Cross server would fix it. Here you go. Got out my system.
Right.
But we've got better than cross server
We've got
coming.
better than cross server coming. It's coming.
Fantastic.
Better announce it than live stream, because I'm waiting to find
But
out.
on the other hand, as long as the population is small, though, then they really do need to come down harder than it sounds like so far, on people who are causing problems, because you're never going to get the larger population if people have the perception that if I go into ranked, then a significant percentage of the time I'm going to have problems when I go in, and people are going to be win trading, people are going to be griefing us. So, also, Snave, I'm not sure if your camera's on like a little gimbal or something, but it's probably fine when you're when you're just doing a little window thing for your Twitch. But whenever you talk, I can see it bouncing up and down. Your camera's bouncing.
Yeah, sorry. It's on my desk is an IKEA desk, and I am not good at IKEA things together. So it's quite fragile. I have restless leg syndrome, and currently my leg is going a little bit crazy because I'm with my idle, So sometimes I hit my desk and it shakes somewhat. I'll try and move back a little bit for you.
All good. I didn't realize it was a medical thing.
Oh, it's not really a medical thing. It's just nerves. That's all. Look at that man. He's glorious, isn't he?
Awesome. Okay. Tio, I guess we'll move on to the next bit.
Sure.
All right.
All right, we have some more story. This time, another bit of SWTOR. I guess it's not fanfic, but official fanfic from. This could be Courtney again. We don't know. It's called The Final Story. It's a bit of Lana Beniko backstory, this time about her time on Korriban as a Sith trainee, which is kind of cool. So we're reliving some of our own time if you level through as a Sith Inquisitor or a Sith Warrior. So yeah, I'll link to that, of course.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Darth Headcold. I love her.
Yeah, they should do something about that. Anyway, speaking of Star Wars story, there is a post on StarWars.com about a bunch of stuff they're publishing in fall 2015, which is our spring, of course. Roughly 20 books, comics, and all kinds of stuff. And they made a point that this is all leading up to the movie on December 18th, Star Wars Force Awakens, Episode 7. There's apparently a bunch of hints and stuff about what's going to happen and backstory all scattered through it. For example, one of the latest novels, Star Wars Heir to the Jedi, which I've just started reading from Luke's perspective, first person. Bad reviews. I don't know yet. Suspended judgment. Anyway, apparently there's a bit in there about that new cross-guard lightsaber. It's got 3 focusing crystals in it, so there's just stuff scattered throughout. Anyway, these new books from all over the place, no exception. The books include Star Wars Aftermath, Lost Stars, Smuggler's Run, a Han Solo adventure, The Weapon of a Jedi, a Luke Skywalker adventure, and Moving Target, a Princess Leia adventure. There's also a reference book from a publishing house called DK. It's called Star Wars Absolutely Everything You Need to Know. They've done a bunch of Star Wars books in the past. So that's just one of those picture reference books. Very cool. And in terms of comics, Journey to the Force Awakens, and Ships of the Galaxy. So anyway, bunch of stuff coming. And that is all in the 3 months just before the release of Star Wars The Force Awakens.
Makes sense. Yep.
Yeah. So lots of stuff to spend your money on. And it's
I'm
all
so
canon. All canon.
All canon, right.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder just how careful they're being with continuity. Very, you would hope. But I'll bet you glitches sneak in. But that's what retcons are for. Star Wars Battlefront, as we know, that's coming somewhere around summer, US summer, in conjunction with the release of the movie. Now, there's been a ton of articles about this, and they're all based on a single tweet from Peter Moore, Electronic Arts COO, Chief Operating Officer, and he said, "A great show, great in caps, show with my friends and partners at GameStop, superb ovation for latest gameplay footage on Star Wars Battlefront." So lots of clapping, and that's all we know.
Okay.
So Star Wars Battlefront,
That's
yeah,
not a lot.
you'll clap when you see it, absolutely. And last news item, and this is Legoland at California. A mini Death Star model is on display, consisting of more than 500,000 Lego bricks. It's 8 foot wide, 13 foot high, and weighs more than 1,900 pounds. No idea what that is in metric, sorry. Because
That's
that
like
really
800
doesn't mean a lot to me.
Okay. 800 kilo.
Right.
Do you think they're going to make a Lego Alderaan and just have it blow up at the end of the day? That'd be amazing.
Well, maybe. Now, however, something else that is a thing is that people are making drones in the shape of various Star Wars starfighters and starships and stuff. So what they could do is do a drone X-wing and get it to fly into this one and blow it up.
That would be funny.
Yep. So that's something for a maker to think about. Be cool.
Can I just say as well, going back to Star Wars games, obviously we've got Battlefront. A little while ago, I said that there was going to be a game by Visceral, who made the games like Dead Space.
Indeed.
What would a lot of people didn't believe me, but I checked the Star Wars website and they definitely are.
Yes.
What would you say to a Star Wars horror game?
What, is it just nothing but
Potentially.
being talking to you the entire time?
As in, like, you got obviously, I know rat ghouls are the old Republic, but let's say they had something on the similar line in the modern day era.
Like the Death Troopers novel?
I've never read it.
It's basically a zombie story in Star Wars.
Well, the rumor is that Visceral is actually going to resurrect 1313. So
they better do.
That'd be kind of cool. That is
that has so much hype
unsubstantiated.
around it.
Yeah, so
many
they could
people
never
are
actually
loving what they
produce
saw.
a game.
Yeah, let's see what happens.
Horror game though, Charlie, really? That's not Star Wars. I guess it could be after J.J. Abrams mucks with it, but
there's always room for expansions, for an expansion to the universe.
yeah, I guess horror is kind of a thing these days.
I don't know.
I
You
would
just
put my
install
money
it,
on
and
1313.
when you install it, the opening scene is just episode 1. You can't skip it. You're crying by the end of it. Meets, I want to play the game now. And that's it. Star Wars nightmares.
Yeah, no. Let's not. Alright, bit of community stuff. Thanks to Grim for his recurring contribution, and I'll actually be meeting Grim in about a week or so, having dinner with him and some old friends from our WoW guild.
Nice.
Also, thanks to Spencer for his donation.
Say hi to them if I know them as well.
You will, and I will.
Awesome.
And now, apparently, the community is organising its own Operation Victory by a gentleman by the name of Death by Smiley. So it's on the official forums. So given that Operation Victory, the real one, was cancelled, they're doing their own. Snape, did you have anything to do with this? Or
No. I made a post saying if they wanted any assistance in setting up, I'd be happy to help. But they seem perfectly, able to do it themselves. I think it's fantastic. It's the one thing I like about this game so much. And I can't help but somehow feel that because the community management has historically been quite lacking, that has forced the community to actually step up and do these things by themselves. They seem to be a lot more active than in other games, and a lot more embracing than in other games. So I think this is a fantastic idea. I sincerely hope they can pull it off, and anything I can do to help hype bear what's going on, I'm more than happy to do it.
Great.
That is cool, and it makes sense. I mean, as soon as they kind of pointed out that you could have esports going on outside of the game, not having to be tied to a mission or anything else. then it kind of gave everyone else the idea that, hey, we can just do this on our own anyway. It's
I
beautiful.
still really, really wish they would do a Hutball tournament. I did send Eric Musco a direct message on Twitter telling him how he could do this if he wanted to, but there was no response, so I don't think that's likely. But it is 100% doable. I want to see how this 8-man rank thing goes in the PTS, and if it goes okay, then I will be doing it. But
The only reason there's no response is because they're
doable.
thinking about it.
Well, I mean, he can
Taking
respond
feedback into
with...
consideration.
Yeah.
All right. So something that was posted on Reddit, Dolso of the Reddit Clips server, has come up with a chart showing you all of the flashpoints and operations and where they are physically located, so you can actually find the things, and they're kind of scattered all over the place. It's actually a nice kind of summary of all of the stuff in the game. Actually, there's a fair amount of it. So yeah, it could be useful for you. I'll link to it, obviously. Might actually add it to our sidebar on OotiniCast.com. And lastly, Utini Rage, which we do in our outro this week. It's the second of the clips provided by Sevek of Beggar and Colony. And this week is entitled We Have Cookies. So we'll play that later. Anyway, that's it.
Later. All right. That'll bring us to the forced feedback where we read out your tweets and emails. And chat room, if you have any questions to ask, we'll be gathering them now to ask once we're done with the feedback. At least I hope so. I will work it as best I can. So actually, Tio, is that something you could help with, since I'm actually usually reading most of these? I might not have time to look at the chat rooms as much. Okay, I appreciate that. All right. So, Anthony tweeted, the only part of OotiniCast I dislike is when Chill says, and that's a show. Hashtag play it again. Thank you, Anthony.
You know what you got to do? You got to not say that and say something completely different.
That's right. Well, I do that at the opening. I come up with a new opening each time. We'll call that good enough. We've got to have something steady. Anthony then wrote, I hate you guys. You guys got me re-addicted to SWOTOR. Just kidding, you guys are awesome. Keep up the awesome work. And hashtag Star Wars Addict. There you go. Thanks, Anthony. Nathan wrote, Speed runs story mode, Scum and Villainy. Olak requires no planning. Just remove the frontliner/recon droids and go.
And that's the 5th encounter in Scum and Villainy. The one with the chessboard grid thing, that we talked about last week.
Yeah, I was kind of joking. Everyone would be yelling about trying to figure it out.
You got tons of time because you have to do the 8 guys, so someone could easily just set it all up while everyone else is mucking about. Someone usually sets it off by accident anyway, so...
Let's see. Sukai wrote, have you ever seen the droid comment in the Revan fight? My C2D4 droid said, make him bleed.
And he included a screenshot of the chat. And yeah, he does. That seems a little out of character for C2D4, but as was pointed out, he can actually carry a blaster now, so...
That's right. He's gotten a little more aggressive.
Yeah.
That is a weird... And also, who uses C2D4 anyway? I'm sorry.
Winners use C2D4. Winners. That's who chills. I'm
kind of
personally right.
I'm kidding. If you want to use him, ship, that's fine.
He's been on your ship for the last 3 years, painting it over and over and over again. He's gone crazy.
Yep.
Free the C2, is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't want to face that droid when he snaps. It'd be like HAL all over again.
Right.
I should probably mention that C2D4 is actually the droid on Jakaro.
Oh.
C2M2 is the ship droid.
Oh, is he? Oh, right, sorry.
Oh, crap.
Oh, there we go.
That's
why I thought to myself, well, that actually does sound like C2D4.
That is C2D4. Yeah. Okay, there we go. Right. That's the whole confusion right there. All right, well, that makes sense, because C2D4 actually is a little vicious at points during that story. If you've chosen the dark side options in Manon, for instance, you see that he gets pretty bloodthirsty. All right. Well, that explains that. Cal wrote, I know it's probably been answered before, but can anyone tell me why HK uses aim in armor and cunning on weapons? And then Nero wrote
And-
back, I think he can use either stat and any slot interchangeably, or more clearly, he can use both aim and cunning.
And that is absolutely correct. I believe he's the only companion who can use both stats are basically main stat, aim and cunning. So you can just have a combination of both and it all just adds up as if you'd
cool.
max one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Very flexible.
Yeah, makes it bit good for weapons as well, because there's sometimes when you have like certain weapons with certain main stats that aren't very common, and that gets really difficult sometimes. All right, more with the melee companions than anything. Samuel wrote a mobile app for companions, but only for subs as a perk. What do you guys think? Well, we've been talking about mobile apps for a long time, and actually so is BioWare. I mean, they've mentioned it several times, but they haven't been able to, I guess, get the resources together.
I know it was planned at launch because there was an interview, I believe it was with Daniel Eriksson, who said if you look at the crew skills, and he said like kind of like with a glint in his eye, it's almost like it was designed to work on a mobile app. The way that it's laid out is very mobile.
It wasn't
friendly,
Daniel
so.
Eriksson, but yeah, I think it was Damien Sherbert actually, from memory.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. They did say
Same
that.
idea.
Or even James Olin. It was one of them.
I think there's a lot of things they could do with this game which are quite small in scale but would have quite a large impact, especially with the mobile market, because there's like zero presence for the mobile market.
This is true. Chong, one of our PvP friends, wrote, I do not believe I have won a closer Novar Coast match. Wow, that is close. 0 to 2%, and one of them was being capped. So
Nice comeback. Very
that
nice.
is nice and tight. You gotta love matches like that when they happen. It's rare, but it's so much fun when it happens.
Yeah, but when you lose, even after all that, then it's just heartbreaking.
That's true, but
Have
you
you,
know,
have you
can't have one
seen
without the
my
other.
Have you seen my ancient Hypergate video?
That's right. I put up one too where I like capped it right at the last second behind someone and won the Hypergate that way. It's always fun, you know. And actually, yeah, it's heartbreaking, but I'd rather have a loss like that than just a total blowout where you just get blown out of the water and you get forced, you know, to your spawn or whatever. It's, you know, those games are really awful to play. I'd much rather have a close one that I lose, even if it's a heartbreaker.
At the end of the day, you learn from it.
That's a theory.
It's not the winning or the losing, it's the taking part that counts. Do you know what that is? That's loser talk. Shut up and play to win. You filthy casuals.
Thanks, Snave.
I'm only joking. Hashtag kind of a big deal. Yeah, I really like those games. It's like recently there's been a lot of pre-made queuing on the Red Eclipse, so it's great fun when you have 4 players on each team who are, you know, either coordinating via TeamSpeak or, you know, just in game or have experience playing together. Had some really close hatball games, and it's painful. The reason I find it more painful is it's bittersweet because it reminds me of how good things were back when you had 8-man ranked, when you had those like those tactics and people working together to use the objectives as a method of play, as opposed to just like hitting each other with their Star Wars sticks. But
Right.
I thoroughly enjoy them. I cannot recommend anything higher. If you do PvP, the thing that you should always do, find 3 players other than yourselves who are all decent, get up and just queue together. Because even if you aren't great, playing with people will get you experience, playing the objectives will get you experience, and you can be a lot more forgiving if you have coordination within those 4 players. So it's the easiest way to improve.
Right. Now, when you're playing your stealth operative, do you prefer 8-man so that you can have other objectives other than just trying to kill people?
Yes, I'm not a big fan of arenas in this game. I do like the arena game mode. I played it extensively in Warcraft. It's just in this game it seems to be more of a let's charge and hit each other in the face as hard as we can and see who's standing at the end. And there's not as much tactics to it, although I will openly admit I don't have the greatest level of experience in that game mode, as opposed to with the 8-man ranked. And granted, if you go back to the 8-man ranked days, the meta games that developed for each map, you know, did vary quite wildly to how you would think they would be. The operatives, right. The gameplay based around objectives opened up so many different things. Like one player doing one particular thing at one point in time would literally just swing the entire game for you. You know, There's this one time I single-handedly beat Nostrum Dallas, the greatest PvP guild in the world, but I don't like to talk about it too much. But it was literally just all done through objective play, as opposed to hitting each other and doing massive numbers. It's an extra thing. It's an extra element to the factor, and I love objective-based PvP. The one thing I've been doing recently as well is, because I leveled up a character yesterday on he's on the Ebon Hawk now. I was playing him just before this show, actually. Even though I have literally 0 PvP gear, I held 4 people in Ancient Hypergate at their node for the entire round. So even if you don't have the gear, if you know what you're doing and you can play for objectives, you can still have a huge impact, because their team is effectively down 3 players the entire game.
If you know your cooldowns, if you know your escapes, if you know your...
If you want some advice on how to work the off node, I'd recommend a video called The Snave in the Grass, available on youtube.com/snave1208. Thanks.
I've seen it, it's fun.
Shameless self-promotion.
Nothing wrong with that.
All right. Guest Guy, one of our friends from Nevada, wrote, "Hola amigos, with the new stories which are part of Shadow of Revan, I've become confused as to the preferred order for story leveling of a new character. Upon finishing Chapter 4 of your main story, typically I progress to Ilum and do the mission there and try to get a group for False Emperor, then Mekeb, CZ-198, and Oricon. But then what? How do the Assault on Tython and Korriban Incursion fit in? Are they part of the
Shadow of Revan.
Shadow of Revan? Are they Stage 1, Stage 2 is then Manon, and Stage 3 is Rishi? Or is it Stage 3 Yavin 4? So is there a place to see this order or some type of graphic? The irony is that the more story that BioWare adds to the game, the more complicated it is now for characters to progress through the story. A good problem to have, but one which should be an easy path to understand, not necessarily easy to accomplish. Your suggestions are greatly appreciated."
Well, it is actually fairly straightforward. Or it seems that way, but then again, I guess we've lived through it, so we sort of know. But firstly, just to put it in context, there's your class story, obviously. That's nice and easy. That's when you level up. The class story will take you all the way through, and you finish up with Corellia. There's usually some kind of big celebration at the end with you and your companions.
You always recognize it. There's a big cutscene always, yeah. And also there's a really big story arc that ends right there, too.
And those are chapters 1, 2, and 3 in effect. Then there's chapter 4, which is Ilum. And that's the whole mission chain you do on Ilum, finishes up with a couple of flashpoints, Battle of Ilum and the False Emperor. So there is, again, that was when kind of everyone comes together and we're all doing the same stuff. And then the story sort of branches off into the operations, and there was a lot of stuff that eventually led to the Dreadmaster chain. So we had Eternity Vault, which wasn't really the Dreadmasters directly. We had Karaga's Palace, which was Karaga, who was leading the Hutt Cartel. And obviously in Karaga's Palace, spoiler alert, you actually kill Karaga, so he's no longer in charge of the Hutt Cartel. What? Indeed. Then there's Explosive Conflict, which is a bit of separatist stuff led by a guy named Kefis Trandashan, and who the Dreadmasters kind of resurrect and use to try to capture the ancient Hypergate on In Terror from Beyond.
Yeah.
And Kefis comes back again, and
log that phrase, because you're going to be hearing it over and over again. Yeah. Kefis comes back.
Now the Greedy, since they were messing with their Hypergate, they sort of turn up in the Gree event, the Relics of the Gree event, which keeps recurring. They're here to help us sort of prepare for something that's coming, which turned out to be the Dreadmasters later. Anyway, now as far as story goes, just for someone who mostly solos, once you finish the class story, the next real thing you're doing, and you've done Ilum, is The Rise of the Hutt Cartel story on Mekeb. So there is a big chain there. It's different on, obviously, Republic and Empire side. And this is where the guy who took over the Hutt Cartel from Karaga, a guy named Tabaro, may know about his courtyard if you just do operations.
Yes.
Yes. You do actually find him in the actual story, of course, at the end.
That's true.
Yeah, so that is kind of a diversion from the Dreadmaster stuff. It's not really specifically related to it, and that's where Isotope 5 comes into it. But anyway, there's a whole mission chain on Mekeb, so you do all of that. Now, there is CZ-198, or CZ-198, We'll go with CZ, which is, again, some simple missions, and most of the story, though, is in the tacticals and the hard modes, if you like, circa Corporate Labs and circa Core Meltdown. So a bit of story there, but again, it's kind of off to the side. So that comes next after McKeb. Then there's Oricon, which gives us a whole lot of stuff on the Dreadmaster's home world, so to speak, where they're actually hanging out these days. And really, all that story is just leading to Dread Fortress and Dread Palace. You can do it if you like, but if you don't do operations, but yeah, I mean, it's interesting to do at least once to do the experience. So story-wise. Then, this is when they introduced Cure Drive Yards, which was just to tie the whole Black Starfighter thing into the story. So it's also the first tactical, level, neutral, whatever, Flashpoint, which all of us have done to death and never want to see again. And then finally, we come up to the modern stuff. Oh, sorry, I should mention. Yes, Kevus did make a reappearance in... it was Fortress, wasn't it? Yeah, in Dread Fortress. Or was it Palace? One of them. Yeah. Whatever. We did them so many times, they really have blurred together. And then we come up to the modern era. We've come up to 3.0. Leading up to that, we had the prelude to the Shadow of Revan. We didn't know it was a prelude to the Shadow of Revan at the time, but it was the Forge Alliance's storyline, which were released in several game updates, starting with Part 1, which is 2 tacticals, Assault on Tython and Korriban Incursion, which you can do in either order, depending on which faction you're on. That led to Part 2, which was the Depths of Manan Flashpoint, and Part 3, the Legacy of the Rakata tactical Flashpoint. All of that was leading to the Shadow of Revan expansion. Now, that is the single story that goes from, starts on Rishi and takes you all the way through to Yavin 4, just a single mission chain, which is pretty much the same on both factions, and does include the 2 tacticals, Blood Hunt and Battle of Rishi. Anyway, so that is your chain. So to re-summarize, class story, Ilum, this is all if you're a solo player. Do McKeb, the Rise of the Hutt Cartel stuff, CZ-198, Oricon, and the Prelude to Shadow of Revan, the 4 tacticals and the missions around that, and then Shadow of Revan itself. So it's not too bad. It is very linear, so you could probably leave out some of that stuff, like the CZ-198 stuff, maybe even Oricon, if you don't really care about that kind of thing. But yeah, and that will bring you up to now. So anyway. Maybe we should do an infographic or something, but yeah.
It's a lot of story either way. All right. And Snave, we have a question from the chat room for you. What would you play in PvP if you weren't addicted to your operatives and scoundrels?
Truthfully, I wouldn't play the game. Back when the game first came out, I leveled up a Shadow, and I was going to quit the game, and someone said try operative, and I fell in love with it. I have played around on a Juggernaut and a Power Tech for a while, so I guess to answer the question would be Power Tech or Juggernaut. But yeah, I would probably go into something productive with my life instead, like knitting.
All right, and do you always do DPS, or have you ever healed on them?
What are you suggesting, Jill? You calling me some kind of healer?
There were some comments in the chat room that I was actually suggesting. Could you put up some videos of healing in PvP?
No, don't even no.
Okay.
I could shave my beard off and look like a 12-year-old, but I'm not going to do that either. You know, I play the one true spec, Concealment. That is it. It is the one true spec played by all of the true players of the world. If you don't play Concealment, you're doing it wrong.
All right. Have you? I assume you've tried lethality at some point.
Yeah. A while back ago, I did a fundraiser for people to donate credits to get the guild chip for my old guild, and I did Snavapalooza. So they were paying me credits to respec. So I respec healing for a few games, and I respec lethality for a few games. I developed a minor case of PTSD, and I had to go and see a psychologist and a therapist for several months afterwards to cleanse the unclean, filthy feelings from my body. Never again.
You could say he was your healer.
I actually, I sang "I Can Be Your Hero" during last Snavapalooza. available on Snave1208 YouTube. Thanks.
All right. Yeah, there's definitely some folks out there like you who just they lock into one character and even one spec, and that's their thing. So.
Yeah, I just really enjoy it. I haven't tried. I mean, I did enjoy Power Attack. The problem I had with Power Attack was it was a twofold problem. First of all, it was very boring to play. It was like a 3-button rotation, and then second of all, there's a gentleman on my server called Cassis who's a legendary Power Attack, and I played one game and I was like, yeah, I've got it. I've definitely beat him on DPS this time. And he outdid me by 300k, so I was like, right, I'm just never going to play this class again now. It's just too demoralizing to play it again. So, yeah.
All right, and Granatoko, we got a question for you. Now you actually do play different classes. What's your favorite class, or do you have one?
Oh, as in terms of story? I don't know, because
How about answer in terms of story, and then in terms of just gameplay, enjoying the abilities and so on.
Well, in story, because the only ones I've actually completed is the Warrior, Inquisitor, the Jedi Knight, and I'm close to the Consular. But out of them, I'd still say that the Warrior is probably the best story out of the ones I've finished. Obviously, I'm still playing the Imperial Agent, and I'm really enjoying Imperial Agent. I'm looking forward to playing Chapter 3.
Agent is the best story. Can't stop now. Don't even stop.
I'm only saying because I only like the Warrior because I've not completed the Imperial Agent yet. I still got to do Chapter 3 in April. Well, from April onwards. So hopefully that will just blow me away. Gotta hope.
Let me give you a little spoiler. I don't want to spoil any actually, but this is essentially how the Warrior story goes. Ooh, I'm angry. Ooh, I've got this problem to solve. I'm gonna get really angry about it. Ooh, I'm furious.
Unless you're light side.
Ooh, I'm kind of angry, but I can't show it because I'm light side. Ooh.
So yeah, it's like when people were saying with the Trooper that they were saying it's the worst story. I've not found that yet. I'm still finding the Trooper good.
Can I give you my summary of the Trooper story? Because I played a Trooper. It's Troopers, yeah, doing things for the Republic. Yeah, I'm a Trooper, going around and shoot things with my Star Wars gun, and that's essentially the Trooper story. The worst story by a mile.
It's a very linear story. It's very much here's the problem, go shoot things until the problem goes away. Here's another problem.
Yeah, here you go. You play a hero in this game. Oh, cool.
Having said that, though,
you take orders for 3 months.
Cool. There are a lot of nice moments within it, and good dialogue and stuff like that. But story-wise, overall, I like say the Agent one a lot better, and
Crackdown to chill. Well
good. There's a bunch of good ones, but yeah, I think I'm glad that I actually leveled my Trooper up first because. At the time, I thought it was a fine story, excellent story, and then I was like even more blown away when I saw the other stories.
Can I give you my summary for the Sorcerer and Assassin? Give you the summary of their story, yeah. So it's basically like if you live in a haunted house, but the ghost always sends you to the shop to pick up stuff. So it's like, so let's say your deceased dad is haunting you, yeah? It's like, hello, ghost dad, what do you want today? Go in the shop, give me a pint of milk, all right, cool. Give me a pint of milk, dad, yeah. Can you go down another shop and get me some newspapers? All right, cool. Can I be an assassin now? No, not yet. You gotta go down the shop and give me some new slippers. All right, cool. I got you your Star Wars slippers now. Oh yeah, now you can be an assassin. Cheers, ghost dad. Thanks. That's the story.
What about the Jedi Knight?
I haven't played the Jedi Knight. Unfortunately, I haven't played it.
In terms of gameplay, purely only because I like having Lightning Storm, probably the Sorcerer, because there's nothing more satisfying than doing the heroic moment Lightning Storm and then doing your original Lightning Storm. I don't know what's so satisfying about it, but it's just so good to just do that.
You should level that up to 60. At level 60, the Sorcerer rotation in PvP is essentially just Force Storm times as many times as you can press Force Storm. You'd love it.
Also, I didn't know this as well until recently. If you double-click the Lightning Storm, it actually automatically targets the enemy you're targeting. I did not know that.
Can I give a quick PSA on this?
The whole time I've been playing it.
A quick PSA on the double-click to do things. If you were playing Hatball and you have the enemy targeted and you have the double click to pass the ball selected, you will throw the ball to the enemy team. Now, the reason I mention this as a PSA is I see this happen probably about 40 times a day, usually in one hut ball. So if you don't know how to pass the ball, untick that thing.
Right.
Maybe
The reason
they
for
just mistargeted, possibly. You know, it could have.
Krenotoko, the reason for this is that they added something to the game not too long ago, but a while ago now, that makes it so that if you double-click a ground-based AoE ability of any kind, if you double-click it, it will center it on your current target, whether
Yeah,
that's
that's
an
that.
enemy or a friend, and that's an example of it. So the Force Storm will just lock onto him, same with the hut ball throw and so on. So if you're targeting an enemy and you double-click the throw the hut ball, even if you think you're going to throw it one way, you're going to end up throwing it towards the enemy that you have targeted, if that's what you're doing. So yeah, but it's hut ball aside, it's a very handy thing to have for the most part, because a lot of times, if you're really hustling, and even in PvP, if you're really hustling, it can be really hard to get something targeted just right, at the right time, and instead you might just say, hey, let's just double click this and get this centered on my current target, and that'll be good enough. So
Please
I
don't
do
double
that
click
on
things in
my
PvP.
Merc.
Don't click anything in PvP. Use keybinds, please. Pretty please. I'll be your best friend if you stop clicking.
What about those who mix and match? Because I saw mix and match.
What about those mix and match? You're slightly less worse than a clicker, and still colossally worse than someone who uses keybinds. You use keybinds. You have a keyboard. You have a keyboard with all of these keys in front of you, like literally at your fingertips.
The thing I found difficult with the way I'm sat at my desk, I'm there tapping away, but when I'm getting to the later numbers, I'm just sort of there going, ugh, and it's a bit of a stretch.
All right, so first of all, let me give you a quick breakdown of this, all right? So you can use shift modifiers, control modifiers, and alt modifiers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you've got big fingers, are kind of like prime real estate. You've also got F1, F2, F3, and F4 if you've got big fingers. Z, X, C, F, and G are all viable keys to have. If you have a mouse, you'll have your back and forward buttons, even if it's a basic mouse for web browsing. You can keybind those. You can also keybind those to shift forward, shift back, control forward, control back. I tend to set up clusters. So, for example, one button on my mouse is always interrupt, stun, and mez, all on one button, control and shift modifiers across all classes. So you have less to worry about then when you re-keybind things. Think of it like this. There's a 1.5 second GCD. I accept that. So you do have 1.5 seconds to move and click on things. But rather than moving to click on things and looking at that, you could be looking at the game, which is going to give you more of an advantage than staring at your toolbar, your hotkeys rather, your toolbar. Where the hell did the toolbar come from? Shift and F, Shift and G, Shift and R, Shift and all those types of things. A lot of players will also unkeybind Q and E, and they will just use W, A, and D for movement. So Q, E, and S are then freed up for keys as well. So I recommend that if you are clicking, try and hybrid it first of all if you're really reluctant. But it is objectively better to use keybinds than it is to click.
Definitely. Yeah.
Tio hates those filthy clickers, isn't it? Like clicking casuals, get off my show.
No, I wasn't talking about clicking the abilities on the bar. I was talking about clicking the ground-based AoE ability, targeting that.
There's two different ways I look at this, because sometimes it's advantageous, and the reason I unbound mine, I don't have any kind of ground-based AoE as an operative since they took away my orbital strike. They took it away, Jill. They took it away. All I have is pass the hat ball. Now, if you've ever heard me play, and you will hear me when I'm playing, I do this with my keys. I absolutely hammer them, because everyone knows the harder and faster you press the keys, the more DPS you do. It's just a fact. It's math. Yeah? Now, the problem with this is when I have the hat ball, I have a tendency of tapping the pass the hat ball button. So the amount of times I've just thrown the hat ball to the wrong person is terrible. Right. It does have advantages, though, especially with hat ball. So let me give an example on Quash hat ball. If you're on the bottom tier of Quash hat ball and a person is up on the enemy's line before the first acid pit, you can actually pass from the bottom tier all the way up to the top tier. You can make that pass. If you have a double tap to pass, you just literally just spam that as you're running, and then the ball will automatically throw when you get line of sight. So that is an advantage to have. I would like it if you could keybind and unkeybind the double tap function. That would be amazing. but unfortunately I can't go in and out of my options every single time to do it. The other thing is for AoE moves, like take Deathfield for another example, you want to catch as many people as you possibly can in that, and that's very rarely going to be based if you center it on someone. To get the greatest kind of like catchment, you want to kind of get everyone inside it.
Right, it's true. It's sort of a good enough sort of thing if you double click it, but yeah, you're often going to catch more if you actually target it directly.
If you haven't mastered it, then I would recommend the double click one, but also be aware that it is not as beneficial as doing it manually if you are good enough to do it.
Right.
Also, don't tap.
Final question from the chat. Snave, what is your favorite US server?
What's my favorite US server? Oh, God. After playing, well, okay, so I played on Jedi Covenant Shadowlands and the Ebon Hawk. I've been accused of hacking in pretty much every single game that I've played on those servers. Some guy earlier said that I had no Hona and I used hacks. That was the same people I stole for the entire round. So I would say at the moment, probably, I don't know, I think I hate Shadowlands the least. I hate Bastions the most. So the rest kind of fall between those two. But yeah, God, I hate the Bastion.
Okay. Should I ask why?
It just has a horrible, horrible community. It's like a high school. You know, if you watch like Mean Girls, it's kind of like that. You know, they all. I mean, I talk smack out of people all the time, but I try to do it in a kind of friendly way, in a jokey way when possible. Whereas they tend to be, they're quite bad on that server. There was a spate a while ago where they were actually using DDoS attacks. You know, the directed denial of service attacks on people who were trying to do solo ranked. They would get their IPs from things like Skype, and then they would just shut them down so they couldn't actually play the game. There's also been other instances of players being harassed horribly, you know, and nothing happening. So I wouldn't like to play on that server, so I don't. I did play on there for about 2 weeks, though.
Okay. All right, that's the show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Harbinger server, or in our Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then ask for the quiz that lets us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to OotiniCast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @OotiniCast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, OotiniCast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Go to OotiniCast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is from Mevio's Music Alley. Check it out at music.mevio.com. That's MEVIO. And thank you to the chat room, and thank you to Charlie and to Snave.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we'll see you next week.
All right, gentlemen, keep recording, please. Chat room, thank you for joining us. It's kind of cool having both the Twitch and the other one up. A lot to keep track of, though. Anyway, we'll be back next week with who knows who, but we'll find out then. Take it easy. Stopping the broadcast.